Hmph, this is the ultimate transformation of the Cosmic Emperor. Pocket Frisa sneered wildly. Cut. Meng got up and wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. 100 times is not enough, then 1000 times is enough. World King Fist. In short, this is a story of a traveler who perfectly fits the World King Fist, stirring the wind and rain throughout the universe. Wait, what's sneaking in? Keywords of the novel. Power of Dragon Ball Supreme. No pop-ups. Power of Dragon Ball Supreme Complete Collection download. Power of Dragon Ball Supreme latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. Survivors of the Traverse. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Survivors of the Traverse. On December 7, 2049, Meng was still asleep. The rock on one side of the gate slowly retracted inward and then slowly moved to one side, quietly opening a small door there. Look, that's an artificial building, there must be survivors, a researcher exclaimed excitedly. Chi la la, accompanied by a lot of interference, another person with a gun carefully looked at it and said, it's indeed a person. There's a figure in this multi-level pyramid, like sleeping. There's a coal stove outside, which should be used for heating. But. It shouldn't be, another researcher stuttered. What shouldn't be, Meng, please explain it to me clearly. Don't you want any survivors? The researcher who first spoke sternly questioned. No, Luda. The researcher named Meng immediately explained, although the radiation has decreased a lot, the current radiation level can still cause rapid death. But look at the person inside. Lu Xiaolong, Meng is right. There is no protection on the person inside. However, there is no mutation either. Let's be a little more careful. You, Meng, are the safety manager. We must listen to that. Lu Xiaolong, also known as Luda in Meng's mouth, was the first researcher to speak. Although he spoke with a sarcastic tone, his serious tone could not be ignored. Obviously, he was a serious person to the bone. So, let's get in touch with the survivors. If there's an accident, close the door immediately. Meng said to the other two people present, but later gave an order to the few people who opened the door. The three of them glanced at each other and nodded. Meng gently pushed open the door curtain of the pyramid house. Passing through 2 layers of pyramids, the three of them arrived at the door of the 3rd layer. Meng nodded at Lu Xiaolong and Meng, and knocked on the door frame 3 times with a bang. Meng sat up with a loud thud. Although my eyes are open, my mind is still a bit confused. Hello, Meng extended his left hand and softly shouted. Meng also reached out his hand. The two shook hands in a friendly manner. One was confused, the other was cautious. The hands he was holding swung up and down a few times, and Meng stood up with a jerk. I really woke up now, it was a startled awakening. You. Meng pointed to the 3 people in front of him, and a surprised and happy expression appeared on his face from the bottom of his heart. I knew it. Meng waved his hand fiercely, I knew there was someone. We didn't expect anyone to. Meng was also a bit excited. After saying something, he immediately realized that what he was saying was wrong and changed his mind, but he didn't know what to say. No, I mean, we didn't expect. It's okay, Meng waved his hand. He was just happy that someone had finally arrived and returned to human society. Who cares if Meng's words are good or not? My name is Meng. Meng began to speak in a burst of excitement. There's no one around. I've been living here for over half a year and it's clean without any bacteria. If you don't believe me, I'll show you a microscope. Meng said a lot, while also pulling Meng to show her or demonstrate to her. Fortunately, Meng was also a bit excited and followed Meng around. Going back and forth for nearly 10 minutes. Lu Meng looked at his watch and stopped the two excited people. He grabbed the two and said, "All right, give Li Meng a simple test immediately." Oh. Li Siming finally realized. Immediately excitedly take the instrument from oneself. "Let me do it, your excited body is trembling." Lu Xiaolong patted Li Siming and took the instrument from himself, quickly and orderly operating it. After a brief or continuous beep sound, Lu Xiaolong put away his instrument and said, "All right, there's no radiation on him. Bring him along and we'll go back immediately." Entered the gate and walked for more than 10 minutes. A group of 7 quickly traveled a distance of 7 to 8 kilometers and arrived at a distance of 3 to 400 meters from the ground. Here, the channels are simply separated. 7 people arrived at the door. Li Meng looked at the few people who had stopped and listened to the words, "good," and "understood," from Lu Xiaolong. Suddenly, he felt that this partition seemed not too simple. Li Siming nodded at Lu Xiaolong and pulled Li Meng, saying, "You go first. We'll go in when you reach the other side." Li Meng was a bit confused, but still nodded and walked in first. In fact, Li Meng said a lot along the way with excitement, and now his mood has calmed down. A doubt arose in my heart, why are all these people wearing space suits? Inside the small partition door, Li Meng walked through several peculiar machines along the way. There is an instrument placed in front of the exit door, and a thick cable is connected to the other end of the door. There is another monitor on one side of the instrument. "Hello, Mr. Li Meng. I am the highest commander of the base, Hmph." As Li Meng approached, the pitch-black screen on the monitor lit up, and Hmph appeared with a smile on his face. He gently extended his right hand, as if pointing to the instrument, and then said, "Mr. Li Meng, please do a self-test first. The instrument is right next to you. If you have any questions, you can ask me at any time. Our experts and I will answer them for you at any time." "What does that instrument detect?" "It is used to detect radiation and harmful substances. This is an integrated high-precision detection equipment designed and manufactured by our base." A white coat appeared on the screen. "Do I have radiation or harmful substances on me?" Li Meng was startled and immediately asked. A woman with white hair and a white coat grabbed her ear and pulled the young man in the previous white coat aside before speaking, "Laugh at Mr. Li. This kid is rough. Let me explain. It's like this, the ground you're on is filled with deadly nuclear radiation. This radiation can kill an ordinary person after more than 3 minutes of contact, but you haven't shown any abnormal behavior. So." The old lady said a lot and was very meticulous, even mentioning her own name as Zhou Qing in age. Li Meng finally gained a simple understanding of the reason. On the day of the nuclear apocalypse, Li Meng was able to survive in a radiation environment. The base was concerned that Li Meng's body would produce harmful substances to ordinary people, so testing was necessary. After understanding, Li Meng became a bit worried. He is worried that if he enters this survivor base, will he be sliced and studied? After all, this kind of thing often happens in novels. Hee. Don't worry, we're not crazy about science. At most, we can do some blood tests and the like, which won't have any adverse effects on your physical and mental health. The old lady had white hair all over her head, indicating that she's getting older and more refined. Although Li Meng's concerns could be seen at a glance through the screen. Then several officers from the base also appeared in the camera one by one and assured Li Meng. Li Meng Kai conducted his own testing using instruments under guidance. As a result, Li Meng was very normal, even healthier than the people in the base land. He inhaled oxygen and exhaled carbon dioxide, and various physical indicators were all indicators of a normal human. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. The New World, right. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. The New World, right. Li Meng entered the base. Due to the special nature of his body, Meng has become a treasure of the base. Looking at it, 2049 has passed and 2050 has arrived. Directly above the base, ripples appeared in the space above the Temple of Heaven. The space fluctuated like water. The fluctuations became increasingly intense, as if water was boiling. When this fluctuation reaches a certain level, in an instant, there is no light shining everywhere, but the entire Kyoto, no, the landscape of the world has changed. The position of the imperial palace was originally replaced by a small forest. Originally, the Sahara Desert in Africa was miraculously covered by a forest. Near the lower center of the forest, there is a complex of buildings. The Imperial Palace. In the palace, the Temple of Heaven disappeared. Instead, a towering tower rises into the clouds. This tower is covered with reliefs. The shape of the tower is not a pyramid or a triangle, but a straight up and down cylinder. From the bottom to the top of the tower, there are 2 to 3 cylinders that can be embraced by adults. At the top of the cylinder is an ellipsoidal house. A pure white cat was lying in the house, seemingly asleep. And above the tower, in a distant place, a temple quietly floats in the air. This scene instantly occupied Meng's mind and slowly faded away. Meng was stunned and completely speechless, with only a burst of admiration in his heart. This is simply a miracle. However, this is not over yet. In the moment when the image in Meng's mind disappeared, a beautiful and clear voice resounded in the minds of the remaining life on earth, so beautiful and holy that the whole world seemed to be frozen. She said, "May life be eternal." The sound disappears. The world will clear up. Radiation disappeared. Radiative cloud disappeared. The world has regained vitality and seems to have suddenly returned to ancient times, with vast forests and vast green spaces. Although there aren't many animals, the sound of birds and the fragrance of flowers are not far away. However, in contrast to the vitality of the world, all lives that hear sound shed tears. The Imperial Palace, located 800 meters below the current holy tower of the former Temple of Heaven, still has its base here. Meng wiped away his tears, blindfolded his eyes, and filled his heart with emotion. He sighed and said, "Emperor Hua is refining stones to fill the blue sky. But that's just it." After speaking, Meng seemed tired and fell into a deep sleep on the bed. However, at this moment, a mournful alarm sounded in the base. This is an alert for a nuclear leak. Over the past 12 years, survivors have conducted numerous nuclear leakage exercises. However, this time, the nuclear leak that affected the entire base was the first. All survivors quickly put on radiation protection suits. But the radiation came so rapidly. The first wave of extremely strong radiation instantly filled the entire base. In addition to the sperm and egg storage box that claims to preserve human hope. It is sealed in thick rock layers, placed under a deep well, and wrapped in lead plates up to 30 centimeters thick. Intense nuclear radiation killed the vast majority of people on the base in a very short period of time. Although the radiation quickly decreased to 500 radians, this radiation level is still lethal. The few people who survived by chance were only not directly killed. Their bodies had already begun to collapse during the first wave of radiation, but the collapse was slower. Or, with strong willpower, they hoped to leave some future for humanity. Cough cough, the distortion of time and space caused nuclear fusion to release radiation. Cough cough. For the same reason, we cannot stop the fusion reaction. However, cough cough. Cough cough. You must be able to survive. Cough. Please. Save humanity. The data is all in the computer, and your permissions have been set to the highest level. Fortunately, a few people who survived for a while closed most of the facilities at the base and left a message for Meng. They only lived a few more hours, unable to even process the bodies of their deceased companions, and also stepped into the embrace of the Grim Reaper. The base fell into silence. In addition to the artificial sunlight planting area and the related areas of nuclear fusion, there is also the sleeping person. Meng, and if someone is still alive, they will definitely be shocked. A dark person. The black man stood for a long time she, raised his hand, and a flash of light appeared on his bent index finger. The entire base seems to have been cursed on a large scale, and all the corpses have disappeared without a trace. At the entrance of Meng's bedroom, the bright light flashed again, followed by a burst of darkness. She, remained silent for a long time in the darkness, and finally seemed to have made up his mind. A slow and determined voice sounded in the silent base. Bobo is Bobo, the servant of God. Bobo disappeared. The base once again fell silent. In the silence, Meng's breathing gradually disappeared. Meng was currently dreaming. Two dreams appeared in his mind almost in no particular order. In the dream, Meng seemed to treat one as reality and the other as a dream. However, he couldn't distinguish between reality and dreams. In a dream, Meng traveled to a world of birds singing and flowers fragrant. His wife is a goddess who controls the entire civilization. They have a pet cat. They don't worry about food or clothing, they can get what they want in an instant in another dream. Meng lives happily with his parents. My home is thriving day by day. Meng's job is also getting better and better. The future is only a matter of time. Two dreams are so beautiful. So much so that Meng had already forgotten that these were two dreams. However, even beautiful dreams come to an end. In the dream of being with his parents, Meng traveled to the dream of being with a goddess. Two dreams seem to be connected. However, the beautiful dream of being with the goddess still came to an end. Everything seems to have frozen in place. Meng is so clear-headed. He is still able to move in his dreams. Across from him, the beautiful and indescribable goddess looked at him with tears streaming down her eyes, full of apologies. Sure enough. You too. Meng didn't know what to say. He didn't know when he had already woken up. I don't know when it happened, but he realized he was dreaming and just unwilling to wake up. I'm sorry. She held Meng in her arms, apologizing but firmly pleading, please protect this world. Please protect this world immensely. This world. Where? I'm dreaming, isn't this world a dream? Meng suddenly became confused. Please, protect this world. I don't know when. Meng has already laid down. The goddess kissed Meng. A tear dripped into Meng's bright eyes. At this moment, everything for Meng was settled. Time and space have lost their meaning. And then Meng opened his eyes. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. The New World. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. The New World. Meng woke up. Wake up from the darkness. I pulled the switch a few times. Out of battery. Meng was a bit puzzled. I rummaged through the bedside table for a while. Meng found a flashlight. I was thinking to myself, wondering if this base had ever said there would never be a power outage. While searching for everything that could illuminate. Because the flashlight is also out of battery. What exactly happened? After searching for a while, Meng finally found a few fluorescent sticks in his personal refrigerator. I folded it a few times and found it still works. Under the light of the fluorescent stick, Meng walked out of the bedroom and all the way to the office of the base leader. What happened? 1. Where are the people? Meng pushed open the door and asked, only to suddenly find that no one was there. Siming knocked on the door and shouted several times. Meng confirmed, Siming is not here either. What exactly happened? Meng began to inspect each room one by one. Knock on the door with a lock, and go in with an unlocked one to see. There is no one in the residential area. The office area is empty. There's no one in the laboratory. Wow, what's wrong with the artificial planting area? It's all covered with grass. In less than half an hour, Meng ran the entire base, but there was no one. Meng, whose head was filled with anxiety and questions, didn't notice his own uniqueness. He ran for half an hour without panting, hit the wall without pain, and was so strong that he knocked open a few wooden doors. The nuclear fusion reactor has gone out, please turn on the backup generator first. Meng walked towards the backup generator while sorting out the doubts in his mind. The artificial planting area is full of grass, indicating that no one has been taking care of it for a long time. However, the grass is all green, and my biology is pretty good. I remember that green grass must have light, probably. But there is no dust in the base, and if I leave for a long time, this cannot be justified. Moreover, I slept for a long time. Yes, my flashlight runs out of electricity. The more you think, the more doubts you have in your mind. Moreover, many of Meng's own conclusions are conflicting, and even some are contradictory. Forget it, I don't want to. Turn on the generator and see what's on the computer. Bang bang bang. A continuous and powerful burst of sound echoed from the diesel generator set. The indicator on the electricity meter lit up. Meng quickly went over and pressed the start button to start the entire thermal power generation unit at the base. The base in the darkness welcomed light. Most of the lights on the base were not turned off. The light came on, and Meng searched again. There was no one in the base except for Meng himself. With the bright light, Meng once again discovered some doubts. Meng realized that something seemed to have happened at the base and everyone quickly left, so much so that he didn't have time to pack his things, and the time was already quite short. I am not suitable for thinking about things that are too complex. There are still some doubts that cannot be connected. The methods I have learned from watching Conan are simply not applicable. Ding dong. The crisp startup sound of the computer interrupted Meng's self-deprecation. This. How could it be? How could I possibly have slept? Ah, I slept a little in 2050. Ha, how could it be? Wake up, 2787 years ago. No. Can. Meng shouted. Yes. Yes. There must be a problem with this computer. It must be. Meng ran out of the chief's office and said as he ran, all computers can go wrong. The base master computer that controls nuclear fusion. Supercomputers. There's that strict thing. Something that takes hundreds of thousands of years to produce a 1-second error. With that, there's definitely no problem. After the supercomputer was started, the bright and dazzling time on the independent timer at 7:29 a.m. on January 5, 2787 temporarily caused Meng to lose his thinking ability. After a long time, to be precise, 3 minutes later, Meng regained his senses. I slept for 737 years, shouldn't I be so exaggerated? I haven't changed much at all, no white beard, no white hair, no age spots, no presbyopia. 737, immortality, what are you joking about? 737, there's no dust in the base, what are you joking about? 737, not a single lamp is broken, what are you joking about? What a joke, ah! Meng shouted and punched the control panel fiercely. The fact cannot be ignored by Meng. Meng didn't want to believe it anymore. Yes, go take a look on the ground. Meng, who turned around and left, did not see the deep punch mark on the metal tabletop of the control panel. Drink, it's so neat, ah. Meng looked at the neat passage in front of him, as if it was covered with a piece of transparent glass, and then filled the outer side of the passage with soil. He thought to himself, all right, even if I use a shovel to dig out a path one by one, I also want to go out. Another round of searching. Meng found a map of the passage and a shovel cart. From here, a straight line of 100 meters will reach the wall. Dig. Meng suddenly picked up a shovel of soil and threw it behind him. Then continue. After a while, Meng had dug out more than 10 meters, and behind him was already facing a small mountain. Ha! Meng took a breath, wiped the light sweat from his head, and looked at the small pile of dirt in the distance. Hmph, I slept for 737 years. I can even throw a shovel of dirt so far, hee. After another while, Meng stopped to eat something and looked at the map in his hand. He calculated, I dug a bit diagonally. Let's calculate it this way. Dig another 3 or 5 meters, and you can touch the top of the passage. The wall is in front of me. After finishing my meal, I took a break. Meng continued to dig. However, 3 meters later, it did not touch the wall. 5 meters, still not touching the wall. It's really a cult. I didn't sleep for 737 years, did I? My head's all tangled up. Why didn't I hit the wall? Meng didn't think it was right, so he dug another 10 meters but still didn't hit the wall. There wasn't one above, not on the opposite side. According to calculations, at this point, Meng's excavation range has exceeded the wall of the channel by more than 10 meters. Meng retreated back, carefully looked at the drawings, and then looked at the passage for a while. Finally, he pointed to the connection between the passage and the soil and nodded, saying, yes, yes, yes. First, dig a little forward along the wall of the passage, and then dig horizontally. If there is a wall, it will inevitably hit the wall. If there is no, that means there is already no wall outside. No. There really isn't. Meng dug along the junction, which clearly revealed the channel section at the junction. So, the excavation method needs to be changed. The inclination can be greater. Just throw it directly behind you, and it can save a lot of effort without having to push it down with a small cart. If you want to do it, you can do it. After solving a problem, Meng found that there was no problem with his mind and was full of motivation. Soon, the soil behind him covered the passage. Through the illumination of his portable fluorescent stick, Meng didn't feel tired and kept digging non-stop. Finally, when I was tired, I realized that I couldn't get out. Either dig up or down. Meng only took a sip of water, spat heavily, and then continued to dig up. Day and night, Meng didn't know how long he had been digging. Strangely, he never suffocated from hypoxia and quickly recovered from exhaustion. Of course, he never starved to death. Although the light from the fluorescent stick was faint, Meng could still see it. Meng, who was all focused on digging out, completely ignored these things. Finally, after a burst of collapsed mud covered Meng's body, sunlight shone in. Upon reaching the ground, Meng looked at the towering giant cylinder several kilometers away and was shocked. He felt that according to the sentence ruling out all impossibilities, the remaining one, no matter how bizarre, is the answer, his judgment should be. I crossed with the base. Right. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Under the Tower of Karin. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4 Under the Tower of Karin, take that pillar as the target, go and take a look. Meng set a small goal and immediately set off to move forward. But a low roar came from the grass beside me. Wu, a saber-toothed tiger, crawled down and grinned at Meng in the grass, as if it would pounce at any moment. Meng glanced at the saber-toothed tiger and then glanced sideways at the pit that had climbed up. Although he was too scared to move, he still muttered to himself, it's over. You said you didn't bring a grab before you came out. It's not without you. Even if you don't bring a gun, take a shovel. Woo. The saber-toothed tiger is about to pounce with a roar. Meng clearly saw the movements of the saber-toothed tiger. Without time to think about why he had such good dynamic vision, Meng shouted, run, and ran away. Meng ran straight ahead. At this moment, Li Meng was not running alone. Lu Xiang was running, Bolt was running, and Sun Wukong was running. Ale, what's getting in here? At his speed, if it were a plain terrain, he would really let him run. But this is not a plane, not a track, it's not a hurdle, it's an obstacle race. Although the trees in the forest are not dense, they are not very spacious, let alone occasionally blocked by roots, vines, and other obstacles. Li Meng is not a child like Sun Wukong who grew up in the forest and does not have such high skills. Apart from the suspected strengthening of a lot of physical fitness, Li Meng is now only left with a trembling heart. Li Meng ran ahead, while the saber-toothed tiger chased behind. Li Meng couldn't run fast and couldn't get rid of the saber-toothed tiger, but he could circle trees. The saber-toothed tiger couldn't catch up with Li Meng either. Unable to catch up with Li Meng for a long time, the saber-toothed tiger also became cunning. It almost bit Li Meng several times when it hid. Fortunately, Li Meng's dynamic vision passed the test and he dodged several times, only being caught a few times. Of course, in such a tense state, Li Meng completely ignored the strange situation where his clothes were only torn and there were no scratches on him. Run and chase, and quickly finish a few kilometers of road. After passing a certain line, the saber-toothed tiger came to a stop as if braking. It roars there, but no longer takes a step forward. Come on, saber-toothed tiger. The saber-toothed tiger dared not move forward, and Li Meng laughed and provoked a few times. Roar. The saber-toothed tiger roared loudly and turned around to run. Li Meng sorted out the clothes that had been packed in the cave, and also sorted out the pants that were about to turn into strips of cloth. He picked off all the leaves and grass from top to bottom. After some sorting, Li Meng walked towards the giant pillar that seemed to be Kalin Tower. The tent not far away. After a chase in the forest, Li Meng finally gained some understanding of his own uniqueness. To sum up, there are only 3 points. First, the speed and strength are good, and even a few 100 pounds of saber-toothed tigers can withstand their attacks. If it weren't for the forest saber-toothed tigers, they wouldn't be able to catch up with Li Meng. Secondly, the spirit is good. Speaking of which, it's true that Li Meng has slept for hundreds of years. He feels like he's really getting old. Thirdly, Li Meng was certain that he was very powerful, possibly with a steel body. He was bitten by a saber-toothed tiger and had no traces on his body except for his clothes that were torn. Not to mention, apart from being bitten and caught a few times initially, Li Meng was able to easily avoid the attack of the saber-toothed tiger later on. Li Meng believes that within 10 meters, he can dodge even if the person across from him is holding a gun. After all the calculations, Li Meng's confidence is now bursting. It shows that although Li Meng is now dressed almost worse than a beggar, his calm gaze and demeanor give people a sense of fighting spirit. Li Meng's temperament gave Paula a certain appearance when she came out of the tent room. In Paula's view, this person is as confident and spirited as the martial artists who came here to challenge Kalinda before. But since childhood, Paula has been guarding Karin with her father and has seen many who have come to challenge her. They all failed without exception. Fortunately, they survived, but the vast majority of challengers fell and died. It seems that this person is also here to challenge Carlington. Let me test him first. If he can't beat me, he definitely won't be able to climb the tower. So please ask him to go back, so as not to waste his life. Paula thought for a moment and walked up to Li Meng, lifting his hand with a punch. Look at the move. What? A muscular male Paula over 2 meters tall, that's a fist the size of a sand bowl. Li Meng originally thought of saying hello when he saw someone coming over. I didn't expect my fist to come first. At such a close distance, Li Meng couldn't help but turn around and run. Subconsciously, Li Meng reached out his hands to pick up the fist. Pop! A crisp sound came out. The fists and palms striking each other unexpectedly triggered a roar in the air. As a guardian of the Karin Holy Land for generations, Paula not only hunts frequently, but also has a strong body and much greater strength than ordinary people. He also has good skills, and with a single punch, he can almost unleash full body strength. So, with this punch from Paula, if it were an ordinary person, it would have already flown out. But Li Meng is not an ordinary person. The continuous exposure to radiation in 737 has made Li Meng's body incomparable to ordinary people. Although there is not much improvement in strength and speed, it is still much stronger compared to physical fitness, compared to ordinary people. Paula's punch was blocked by Li Meng. Li Meng only felt a force coming, but did not feel how great the force was. In other words, Li Meng's power is no longer comparable to that of two ordinary people. Taking Paula's punch, Li Meng did not let go, but angrily said, "What's going on? What is he saying?" Paula couldn't understand what Li Meng was saying, but her angry expression was understandable. Pulling back his fist, Paula asked, "Aren't you here to challenge the martial artist of Kalinda?" "What kind of martial artist? I'm just a passerby chased by a tiger." Li Meng answered with a wave of his hand, mixed with 2 points of grievance and 3 points of anger. "What he's saying, why can't I understand a single word?" Paula became confused. In the end, Paula gave a bitter smile and said, "I'm sorry, I can't understand what you're saying." Sigh. Now it's Li Mengling's turn to be in chaos. In Li Meng's consciousness, what he heard was the same Mandarin he spoke, and he never expected to have a language barrier. After thinking for a moment, Li Meng pointed at himself and said, "I." Paula pointed to herself, then pointed to Lemon and said, "I." "You." The first sentence was learned from Lemon's words, and the second sentence was Paula's own language. It's okay, gestures are still useful. Li Meng made a few simple gestures and found that Paula could understand. The two of them began to engage in simple conversations with the help of gestures. In fact, the meaning that Li Meng can express is limited. But Paula, on the contrary, had a more rigid mind. Although Li Meng understood what he said, he had no idea what to say. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Kalin Immortal. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Kalin Immortal. In the blink of an eye, Li Meng had been living under Carlington for a week. Paula was already able to understand Li Meng's simple words. However, Li Meng had no idea about Paula's language. Although it sounded like Mandarin, he knew that Paula's pronunciation was completely different from what he heard in his ears. Over the past week, Paula has also taught Li Meng some simple fighting skills. Li Meng was also able to play 2 moves against Bola when he got up. With his extraordinary strength and reaction speed, Li Meng was able to win every time. On this day, Li Meng rolled up his sleeves and started fighting with Paula, which was rare. It's not that Li Meng and Paula have become enemies, but rather that Li Meng is a bit crazy about this unbalanced dialogue. So, this battle was purely Li Meng seeking Paula to vent his anger. However, shortly after the two fought, a golden cloud fell. A white cat standing on top with a stick. A cat. Li Meng stopped and said in surprise. "I'm the Kalin fairy, meow." The white cat jumped off the golden clouds and came to the two of them. "Kalin fairy." Paula shook and immediately bowed deeply, saying, "See Kalin fairy." "You, how, just, sure, I mean this cat, is it, Karin fairy?" Li Meng asked. This is his way of speaking to Paula, and soon Paula can't understand. "What is he saying, meow?" "He said he couldn't be certain of your identity. He wouldn't say what we said." Although Paula respected the Kalin fairy, he still faithfully translated it for Li Meng. "You don't speak our language, meow." The fairy Karin habitually licked the cat's paws and washed her face. "It's strange, I don't even know how to learn your language." He said he didn't know how to learn our words, Paula translated again. "It's very simple, meow," said the fairy Kalin. "Our language is a lingua franca, separate from writing, meow." What? What you said is different from what you wrote. Li Meng fainted. After a brief thought, Li Meng decided to seek advice from the Kalin fairy. Li Meng clasped his hands together and bowed, saying, "So, please teach me. Please hand it over to him. This is also my request, please." Paula also bowed. "Then I'll hand it in, meow. Listen, meow." Immortal Kalin began teaching Li Meng how to use language. Our language is a universal language. It's a special way of producing vibrations of sound. No matter what kind of writing you write, just say it in this way, meow. Every word is a set of vibrating pronunciations. 2 hours. Only 2 hours later, Li Meng learned this language. At this point, Li Meng even suspected that this pronunciation method was not unique to the Earth alone, but universal to the entire universe. After all, this pronunciation method already involves the fundamental aspect of intelligent life processing language. Language is no longer a barrier. And here happens to be another Kalin fairy who has lived long enough. Li Meng believes that when it comes to whether this world is a Dragon Ball world, one can indirectly ask. "I have a question, Kalin fairy." Without considering whether Kalin fairy agreed or not to answer, Li Meng asked directly, "Is there a Dragon Ball in this world? Is there a temple on Kalin Tower?" "How did you know, meow?" The fairy Kalin was surprised. "So, do you really have Dragon Balls?" "Yes, meow. The temple above Kalinda also exists, meow." Li Meng confirmed that he had traveled with the base to Dragon Ball World. "The mark on your wrist is the seal set by the previous deity, meow. It should have been set by the deity who built the temple hundreds of years ago, meow. Only that deity has such a high dimension, meow. It's precisely because I saw this that I came down, meow." The Kalin Immortal explained to himself. Sigh. How could this be? Does Li Meng's judgment differ from reality? Even time travel was hundreds of years ago. To be precise, it was 737 years ago, meow. According to records, you had a violent power of time and space on your body, and the gods collected a barrier that divided into a holy land and a temple. In return, the gods sealed the power of time and space on your body to prevent you from being thrown into an unknown place and dying by the violent power of time and space. The immortal Karin explained to Li Meng, who looked bewildered. "I only traveled once. This is the Earth before. Please, protect this world." Shoo. Shaking his head, he brushed aside the dream memories that suddenly popped up in his mind. Li Meng asked again, "Did I really sleep for 737 years?" "Yes, meow. It's recorded in the book like this, meow." The short and chubby cat body of the immortal Kalin was clearly visible, but he, didn't know where to find a book, flipped through it with a clatter, and finally stopped there. Li Meng snatched the book and found that it was actually recorded in Chinese characters. It is written in the book that 737 years ago, he was affected and surrounded by a barrier along with his base under the Holy Land, and the gods took away some of his time and space energy and integrated it into the barrier. The last color illustration of the book is rectangular squares with complex patterns on the borders and green filling inside. Under the illustration, it is written that in order to protect the seal, the gods unleash a frenzy of time and space energy, weakening the power of the source. From emerald green to grayish-green and finally transparent. When the power of the source disappears, the raging energy is activated. Hey, what does this mean? Li Meng looked at the introduction in the book and broke down in a cold sweat. He thought to himself, there won't be any plot where energy explodes, will there? Don't worry, meow. Fairy Kalin took the book, grabbed Li Meng's hand, looked at the sealing bracelet on his wrist, and said, "There are still 7.5 spaces left for the 15 space seal, meow. 7.5 grids, which means I can still live for over 700 years. You're overthinking it, meow. You were able to sleep for 737 years before, which was a series of coincidences, meow. Now you're a normal human, meow. I'll find a place to check. Having understood what he wanted to know, Meng began to contemplate embarking on a new journey. However, before that, let's learn some combat skills from this cat fairy. Climbing the Kalin Tower or something. It's still too far away for Meng. People often say that ideals are beautiful, and reality is bone-like. Kalin Immortal, after descending Kalin Tower, taught Lemon the universal language, answered Lemon's current doubts, and taught him some combat skills. However, time is only one day. What can Meng learn? After learning some skills, Meng stayed at Paula's house for another week. During this period, Meng finally killed a tiger with his own hands, avenging the sword-toothed tiger with a single arrow. Paula said that Meng can walk out of the forest on his own. He gave Meng a simple map and pointed him in a direction, so he stopped caring about him. In Paula's words, a man should move forward courageously. Anyway, Meng finally embarked on the road to the city. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Lost Guixian Island. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Lost Guixian Island. Meng walked forward all the way. On the road, he intentionally or unintentionally used some techniques, such as jumping on branches, running on the ground while avoiding obstacles, and even accelerating again with the help of obstacles to avoid ambushes from wild beasts, and so on. However, there are always some wild beasts that Meng cannot currently compete with. Meng Road crosses a large river. The river is wide, but it is shallow and can only reach up to the knees. Under the clear surface, swimming fish shuttle back and forth. It's hard to imagine that there are so many fish, big or small, in such a clear river water. There is a saying that when the water is clear, there is no fish. Is it true? Meng rolled up his trousers, rolled up his sleeves and shook his head. Originally, Meng was in a good mood to catch fish and prepare lunch. However, a 2-meter-tall bear crawled out of the forest behind him. Roar. Meng dares to bet that the giant bear's roar definitely exceeded half a minute. Meng could clearly see the splashing saliva stars. Then, an encounter battle naturally began. At first, Meng relied on his agile figure to hit the giant bear several times fiercely. Not painful or itchy then, Meng attempted to use a little technique of breaking through the surface. Repeatedly hitting one area. After 3 times, Meng was flapped away by a giant bear. Although it's not very painful, I haven't suffered any injuries. But after being slapped, Meng immediately knew that the result of the fight was definitely not much. In the end, he must have been all ragged, and the fur and fat of the giant bear were definitely not something Meng could move now. So, Meng ran away decisively. Meng wants to run, but the giant bear won't let him go. You 2-legged guy caught my fish on my territory, hit me a few times, and when I hit you, it was like running. No matter what psychological activity the giant bear had, it actually chased Meng for more than 10 kilometers. Yes, I followed the river downstream and chased all the way to the seaside. Until Meng was captured by a pterosaur descending from the sky. It's really lucky that no humans have come for a long time. It's just a good time to add food to the children. How could this pterosaur speak human language? And it seems like it's going to be eaten. Meng had just breathed a sigh of relief from the pursuit of the giant bear, and was originally thinking of taking a ride with the pterosaur. But upon hearing the words of the pterosaur, Meng became anxious and said, "Hey, you can't bite me, and your child can't even bite me. My child will swallow you whole, no need to bite." What ghost, is the child of the pterosaur a snake? Meng shouted again and began to struggle. Who said a pterosaur's child cannot be a snake's? Be honest with humans. Is anything really possible in the anime world? When Meng was thinking about this, he had already freed himself from the clutches of the pterosaur. The actual situation is that Meng's struggle prevented the pterosaur from maintaining balance. The flying altitude of pterosaurs gradually decreased. Then, when Meng's feet touched the sea level, a big fish swallowed Meng in one gulp. And, pterosaur. I lost 1 foot and ran away at a speed several times faster than before. At real flying speed. The big fish swallowed Meng, bit off the pterosaur's foot, and then continued to dive. The good times didn't last long, and this big fish suddenly began to roll and float in the sea. Originally, although Meng was swallowed. But his body shape is nothing compared to the teeth of a big fish. In other words, Meng didn't even have enough teeth to fill the gaps between big fish's teeth. So, Meng really survived in the crevices of the big fish's teeth. The big fish diving, Meng felt the increase in water pressure in the big fish's mouth and began to make noise. The so-called commotion actually refers to Meng using his own strength to pull out a tooth for the big fish, or fiercely punching the big fish in the mouth. As the saying goes, toothache is not a fatal illness. This sentence is also applicable to a fish. The big fish floated to the surface of the water, and it was unknown how far they had swam in a straight line. The animals in Dragon Ball world have relatively high intelligence, at least much higher than those here. This big fish can grow so big, obviously its intelligence is good. There was something in its mouth that made it ache, and it even spat out a water sword on the sea surface. Meng happened to be carried by the water flow and sprayed out of the big fish's mouth. Stepping on the water raw, Meng looked up and looked into the distance. I vaguely saw a small island far ahead in the distance. It's really far. Meng couldn't tell for a few kilometers, even a dozen or so. He swam from the sun above his head until the sun was about to set in the sea, which was when he finally reached the small island. If it weren't for Meng's special physical condition, he would almost never have seen the island, let alone arrived. Hello, is anyone there? Meng lay on the beach for a while before getting up and shouting. At this point, the sun had disappeared and only a red cloud remained on the horizon. Squeak, the door opened and a turtle crawled out. It said, "Hello. This is Turtle House." Wow, a turtle. In fact, Meng knew that Turtle Fairy had a turtle at home, but first of all, he didn't know this was Turtle Fairy Island, and second of all, he would always be surprised when he saw a talking turtle for the first time. Actually, I'm a turtle. If this is the anime, there should be a drop of sweat on the turtle's forehead. Meng suddenly had this idea in his mind. Then he was instantly thrown into the clouds. Because Guixian Island. Mr. Turtle, do you think this is the Turtle Immortal house? So the Turtle Immortal must be inside. Yes. Are you here to find the Turtle Fairy? I must have the Turtle Immortal teach me 2 moves, at least I need to have the ability to protect myself. Meng was thinking about how to learn the martial arts of 2 moves to protect my life from the Turtle Immortal. On the other side, the turtle had already turned around and called out the Turtle Fairy. Oh. What's up with this old man like me? An old man appeared, dressed in fashionable clothes, colorful clothes, sunglasses, and a distinctive beard. He was bald and looked very thin. Sure enough. Meng was also surprised when he saw the real Turtle Fairy, and it was almost as vivid and humorous as the one in his memory. Sure enough. Sure enough what? The Turtle Fairy's forehead seemed to drip with cold sweat, thinking to himself. This kid's thinking is too jumping, isn't it? Sure enough. No, that. The Turtle Fairy was stunned, but Meng felt embarrassed. I almost spoke my heart out by accident, but fortunately it's okay. Meng was sweating profusely in his heart, but his hands quickly closed and he bowed deeply before saying, "You must be the god of martial arts, Teacher Wutian, right?" The god of martial arts. The Turtle Immortal scratched his head in confusion and said, "What is that?" I'm just a bad old man enjoying his old age. Please. Li Meng bowed again, Teacher Wu Tian. Although I didn't intentionally look for him, Li Meng recounted his experiences along the way, then recounted his background, even mentioning the cat fairy of Karin. Finally, he sincerely said, please teach me some self-defense skills. Ha! It's a strange thing that the Kalin Immortal descended from the Kalin Tower. Alright, I'll teach you some martial arts skills. Thus, Li Meng began several weeks of martial arts cultivation on Guixian Island. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Direct Walk. As I walked, I got crooked. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Direct Walk. As I walked, I got crooked before practicing. Guixian had Li Meng attack him several times to test his strength, speed, and reflexes. Then I started teaching Li Meng martial arts. Turtle Fairy is truly one of the excellent teachers in the world of Dragon Ball. When it was discovered that Li Meng had super endurance and his horse stance was almost useless, he was asked to stand in the sea and practice boxing. Even occasionally, he personally fed Li Meng tricks. So, a month has passed. Touch. The Turtle Fairy's cane hit Li Meng's head. This is obviously not the first time. For Li Meng's habit of sleeping in late, the Turtle Fairy went from hitting him more than once to waking him up in the end. Get up. Sleep in again. After knocking, shout out, this is something that Turtle Fairy has been doing almost every day for a month. Ah. Li Meng rubbed the knocked head and said, if you keep knocking, you'll be foolish, old man. After breakfast, outside the house. Come on. The Turtle Fairy wore sunglasses but still gave a sense of authority. He reached out with one hand and leaned on his side with one hand holding a cane. This is a battle. Li Meng was startled in his heart. Although the Turtle Immortal had never fought him seriously, he had never seen the serious demeanor of the Turtle Immortal. But now, the feeling that Turtle Fairy gave Li Meng was. This was a battle. Coming. Li Meng shouted loudly and immediately bullied himself. Accelerate. Punch. Touch. The fist clashed with the cane, making a loud roar, and the gust of wind blew Li Meng's hair loose. Collision. The attack and defense were different, and in the blink of an eye, Li Meng and Guixian attacked each other with a few punches and kicks. The Turtle Immortal's every attack happened to be the maximum strength that Li Meng could defend against, but Li Meng went all out in every attack. Li Meng is pure power and speed. It is hard to imagine the extraordinary energy contained beneath the aging appearance of the Turtle Immortal. Boom. The fists and canes clashed again. Okay. The Turtle Fairy pushed Li Meng aside and stood still, saying, not bad. You can already exert your physical fitness. You will have more than enough self-protection in the future. Thank you for your guidance. Li Meng bowed and sincerely thanked the Turtle Fairy once again. Well, after so many days and countless battles, I can feel that your strength is much higher than that of an ordinary person. But this is not what makes you most special. In fact, what's most special is your defense. Even if I use chi to attack you, you haven't been injured. So, in fact, you can already protect yourself. Have you ever attacked me with gas? Li Meng's cold sweat suddenly came out. Of course. The Turtle Fairy's beard curled up. Do you think every time I blow you flying is because of strength? Where did I, a terrible old man, get the strength to blow you into the sea? Then What else did Li Meng want to ask? But the Turtle Fairy suddenly changed his painting style. He suddenly transformed from a majestic master back to that good, flashy old man. Oh my, it's time, my program, bikini. The Turtle Fairy ran back into the room with an exaggerated grin. Don't worry about that colored old turtle. Let me take you to the shore. The old turtle climbed to the beach and gestured for Li Meng to stand on its back. Actually, I wanted to say goodbye. Li Meng sat cross-legged on the turtle's back, bored and chatting with him. It's okay, Turtle Fairy doesn't care about that. After a while, I saw the shore. By the way, Li Meng, can you help me pick some mushrooms on the shore? I love eating mushrooms. Okay. Picking some mushroom writes as a thank you gift. Upon reaching the shore, Li Meng picked some mushrooms from the surrounding woods to give to the turtle, and then set off in the direction pointed by the turtle. In order not to get lost, Li Meng even took a straight line. Encountering mountains and overturning mountains, encountering water and crossing water. However, as a half-hearted idiot. When the forest is thin, it may not matter, but when the mountains are high and the forest is dense, Li Meng is a bit unsure where to go. The north and south can be separated, so that thing can be separated. However, straight lines. What is that? So, Li Meng got lost. When I was a child, I forgot 9 out of 10 directions taught by the teacher, leaving only one to look at the sun. So Li Meng climbed to the top of the tree every day, corrected his direction towards the sun, and then walked straight down. Over and over again, repeated countless times, he truly walked out of the deep forest. The forest is sparse, so the direction is naturally easy to distinguish. But what the hell is this cliff ahead? After finally getting out of the deep forest, Li Meng was surprised to see a high and steep cliff ahead. From a distance, it may be 10 miles wide, and the height is around 100 meters. The cliff is rugged with strange rocks. Li Meng walked along the cliff, hoping that there would be a slope on the edge of the cliff. Otherwise, Li Meng will turn his head and enter the deep forest again. Li Meng arrived at the left end of the cliff, only to find that it was a curved cliff. There are towering stone pillars below this cliff, with sharp stalagmites protruding from the cliff walls. Various convex or concave areas on the cliff can be vaguely seen as a road. Only the steps are a bit strange and the intervals are too large. Li Meng is observing the way, trying to find a way to climb over the cliff. A child fell down. Without hesitation, Li Meng rushed forward and tried to catch the child. Touch. The child's head hit a protruding stone pillar. The stone pillar is not sharp, but the sound of impact is very loud. In an instant, the child's head was covered in blood red. The child bounced off the pillar and fell again. Li Meng arrived in time to catch the child. What should I do? Li Meng held the child in his arms, feeling anxious for a moment. This was a life. Blood flowed down Li Meng's hand. Not fast, but drop by drop. What should I do? Li Meng covered the child's almost perforated head with his hand, secretly hating that he didn't have any knowledge of first aid. Leave it to me. An old man came to Li Meng's side at some point, with a handful of herbal paste already in his hand. He took the child, wrapped a piece of gauze around the child's head, pasted herbal paste on it, and fixed it with gauze again. The blood has stopped. Thank you, if it weren't for you. No, I have to thank you. If it weren't for you catching him, my grandson would probably have been unlucky. Sun Tzu. Yeah. My name is Sun Wufan, and this is my grandson Sun Wukong. Sun Wufan. Li Meng exclaimed in surprise, you are the disciple of Guixian, Sun Wufan. Hello, I am Li Meng. I learned martial arts from teacher Wu Tian for a month before. Let's go to my house first, this child. Sun Wufan was surprised. But ultimately, he is a master of martial arts, calm and composed, able to distinguish between urgency, and decisive in critical moments. Okay. Please take me on a journey. I was just worried about how to get up, Li Meng smiled bitterly. He knew that time was life at this moment, so he didn't act pretentious and just spoke up. Sun Wufan held Sun Wukong in one hand and supported Li Meng's arm in the other. He climbed up to the top of the cliff effortlessly, jumping over and over. Extremely stable and lightweight. This is the level of a martial arts master. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Rescue. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. Rescue. Arriving at the top of the cliff, Sun Wukong did not let go of Li Meng, but instead accelerated his pace. Up the tree. Crossing the mountain. Overflow. You sure? When Li Meng arrived at Sun Wukong's cabin, he was already dizzy. If it is anime, then Li Meng is already a circle of eyes. Sun Wukong put down Li Meng and entered the cabin, gently placing Sun Wukong on the small bed. Then, he began to quickly dispense medication. He first prepared an ointment and replaced Sun Wukong's emergency herbal medicine. Then, he added another pair of traditional Chinese medicine and went outside to boil it. Is there anything I can help with? Li Meng watched Sun Wukong bustling around, feeling a bit embarrassed for a moment. Could you please go to the small river we passed by and catch some fish for our dinner? Sun Wukong pointed to the basket in the corner of the wall and said, let's use that basket to serve. Okay, Li Meng carried a basket and came to the riverbank. Roar. Well, why are there bears here too? Am I the Destiny fan bear star? Li Meng felt a bit helpless. I was chased by a bear before, but I have encountered another bear here. Although this one is one size smaller than the previous one, it still looks very intimidating. Li Meng shook his head and smiled bitterly. But the bear wouldn't wait for him to finish laughing, and Tiger ran over. The bear itself was by the river, on the same side as Li Meng, only 3 or 5 meters away. A few leaps had already pounced on him. A pair of bare paws, with pointed nails still stained with unfinished fish blood. Li Meng was startled and casually threw the basket far behind him, but his figure remained unchanged. Coming up, there's a river on the left, right. In an instant, all the terrain movements were clear to his mind. Li Meng dodged to the right and easily avoided the big bear's attack. Give it back to you. Li Meng shouted, and as the bear turned around, he punched it in the face. With this punch, the big bear involuntarily rolled and fell into the river. Ah! The big bear let out a mournful roar, and a few of them pounced across the bank, running without looking back. So I'm so amazing, Li Meng looked at his fist with a surprised expression on his face. That big bear looks like it should weigh 3 or 4 people. Li Meng was able to knock it down with a single punch, indicating that his strength was not weak for a moment. With his exceptional reaction and speed, Li Meng quickly caught a basket full of fish. Actually, it means 4 or 5 big fish plus 7 or 8 small fish. Return to Sun Wukong's cabin. Sun Wukong cooked the fish. Li Meng boiled fish soup over fire, while Sun Wukong continued to boil medicine. A portion of the fish soup was fed to the unconscious Sun Wukong, and the remaining Sun Wukong rice was shared with Li Meng. Adding fish and meat, both of them had round stomachs. 3 days passed like this. Sun Wukong finally woke up. A simple, obedient, and childlike child has come to this world. The Scion cockroach disappeared. Li Meng bid farewell. Sun Wukong found a compass from the house, adjusted it, and chased it out. He pointed to the compass and said, "Take this with you. You'll walk along this direction and you'll reach a small town. After that, it'll be easy to handle. Thank you for the hospitality these past few days." Li Meng thanked him and suddenly remembered, by the way, Sun Wukong's child, it's best not to let him see the full moon. Why? If you see a full moon, you can cut off its tail. Don't worry, the tail will grow again. Alright, goodbye. Li Meng didn't answer Sun Wukong's question, but finished speaking on his own, then turned around and left. For 3 days, Li Meng's wholehearted help made Sun Wukong choose to believe him. Sun Wukong did not continue to inquire, but watched as Li Meng left. Li Meng did not encounter any danger along the way, and because he had a compass, he did not get lost. Upon arriving in the small town, Meng suddenly realized that he had no money on him. The clothes were repaired by the cat fairy, and the most valuable thing on the body was the compass given by Sun Wufan. "Excuse me." Meng scratched his head and looked at the bustling street market. After thinking for a while, he turned around and walked into the alley. "Perhaps we could have a black meal." Meng walked into the alley, turning 7 or 8, and soon no one was around. Of course, Meng himself didn't know where he had gone either. Coincidentally, a book cannot be written. Just then, Meng heard some voices. "Hee, hand over the valuable ones." Hee, that. Fight. Big brother. I'll first. Rob a woman. Hee. Money can be given to you, unlucky. My friend is a galaxy patrol. Meng listened to the sound and passed 2 corners before seeing 2 men and a woman in an alley. The girl has long golden hair, sticking it to the wall to block her shoulder bag in front of her. The shoulder bag is made of leather, looks finely crafted, and is expensive. 2 men, very thin, with their backs facing Meng, so he couldn't see their faces. But from his voice, Meng could tell that the short man was determined to grab some money. Although he was drawing with a knife, he was fierce and hesitant to take action. On the other hand, the opposite is true, with unclear pronunciation, seemingly unable to distinguish right from wrong, and constantly trying to go up against it. "Hey, you two!" Meng calmly called out to the 2 robbers who were about to move. "You! When did you come behind us?" The short man quickly turned around and waved his knife in front of him a few times. "You can leave now." Through all the experience along the way, Meng was very confident. He didn't even notice the 2 skinny, almost skinny robbers. "Strike. Knock him down. Big brother." The tall man's eyes were clear, although he stuttered, the sharp gaze seemed to indicate that it was not his first time taking action. "Up." The short man swallowed his saliva, seemingly determined, but then added, "Don't kill him." "Hmph." Meng snorted coldly, his hands spread out, and he put on a combat posture. The tall robber punched immediately. The short robber waved his knife and seemed to come up at any moment to strike Meng. The blonde girl shouted, "Be careful, that tall person has a lot of strength." Touch. The muffled sound of impact. Meng caught the tall robber's boxing with one hand. However, before Meng could be happy, a tremendous force unexpectedly came from the opponent's hand. He was instantly knocked out and crashed into the opposite wall. Bang! How could it be? Meng was surprised. He knew he was strong, and the tall robber's attack continued for him. But, second stage force. That's a skill that can only be mastered by martial arts masters like the Turtle Immortal and Sun Wufan. Fortunately, this guy doesn't have much strategy. So knock him down. Meng thought for a moment and immediately came up with the idea of using his strong defense to create a deadly effect. Knocking out the tall robber. Although the tall robber had extraordinary abilities, the real difference in strength was not 1 or 2 points, so Meng, who was serious, only received another punch and successfully knocked him unconscious. Dang dang dang. The thin robber threw the knife to the ground and immediately knelt down shouting, "No. Meng is actually just pretending. If he really wants to kill someone, he may not dare." So, Meng took the opportunity to stop and snorted coldly, "Hmph, don't rob anymore, go away." End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Daisy, Briff, and Buma. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Daisy, Briff, and Buma, saved. Thank you. The blonde girl took a deep breath and walked over to bow in gratitude. "Hello, my name is Daisy." "Hello, Meng." Meng reached out and shook hands with Daisy. "Gollum. Daisy waved to the side and said, "Come with me. As a gift for saving me, I'll treat you to dinner." As a writer, Daisy still has her own experience in looking at people. When she saw Li Meng's expression and combined it with the sound of her stomach just now, she immediately knew that Li Meng probably didn't have enough money to eat. Daisy took Li Meng's hand and turned 7 or 8 all the way to a restaurant. The restaurant is still in the alley, dressed elegantly, with a few elderly people sitting inside. Eating dinner, the two of them had a conversation. Li Meng learned that Daisy came out to experience life, search for materials, in order to better write novels. Daisy also learned that Li Meng's goal was to conduct a thorough physical examination, which would only be possible in big cities, and even Li Meng's ideas would require some large laboratories to do so. In the end, Daisy decided to invite Li Meng to her home in Shidu, where her father would personally help with the testing. "This is a genuine gratitude for saving lives," said Daisy in her original words. Li Meng didn't expect such a coincidence. In one fell swoop, the current goal was achieved by 90%. Cars, airplanes, cars. After 2 days, Li Meng fainted and couldn't stand up at the cost. Finally, he arrived at the headquarters of Convenience Capsules, Shidu, and the home of Dr. Briff, the father of Daisy. More precisely, the estate, which was quite large. "Oh, handsome guy, welcome. Do you want to go on a date with me?" Daisy's mother was very enthusiastic. Passionately, Meng looked embarrassed. Fortunately, Daisy's father spoke up in time. "Oh, you're the person Daisy mentioned on the phone, right? Hello, I'm Briff. Dr. Briff, not tall, is a true scientist. Are you my sister's boyfriend? If you're not good to my sister, I'll shoot you with a light gun. This is Buma, who is less than 6 years old and has blue hair in a braid, but is a real genius. He repaired Galactic Patrol Gark's spaceship in a very short time and learned anti-gravity technology from it. Hello Dr. Briff, hello madam, and you too, little Buma." Li Meng asked each one over and over again, saying that etiquette is still necessary when meeting for the first time. Then Li Meng revealed his background, the situation at the base, and the things he needed to check one by one. "I hope Dr. Briff can help." Sure. "First, give it a simple test, and then conduct further tests based on the results," Dr. Briff replied. "Oh my, I brewed the tea." Mrs. Briff ran somewhere and brought a few cups of tea, handed them to Li Meng, and then said, "Let's go on a date, handsome guy." In the afternoon, the first test was conducted under the strict control of Dr. Buma and Dr. Briff, and Mrs. Briff occasionally made a guest appearance with a rhythm, which ended successfully. Dr. Briff looked at the test data and comparison data and said, "Your physical fitness is very high. Your strength is about 4 times that of a normal person, and your speed is also close to 4 times. Your reaction speed is very fast, but the specific data needs to be further tested. Preliminary estimates show that it is also 4 times. The most unique aspect is your cell strength. Sometimes it is the same as an ordinary person, but sometimes it is extremely strong." Dr. Briff briefly explained it first, followed by a bunch of professional terms. Li Meng can still understand what platelets and white blood cells are, but he is completely confused by a bunch of medical and biological terms such as particles, elements, and so on. 3 days later, Dr. Briff's laboratory was located in the center. A spherical machine connected to more than 10 thick wires and conduits. On the other side, there is a glass partition, with several devices connected to the circuit and conduit. The device is also connected to 2 operating consoles backed by glass via a circuit. Dr. Briff pointed to the elliptical machine and said to Lemon, "You go in. When the door closes, the test starts. Opening the door again means the test is over." Li Meng goes in. Dr. Briff and Buma were constantly operating on the control panel. Half an hour passed in the blink of an eye, and Buma stopped the operation first. Dr. Briff's operation gradually decreased. Another hour passed, and Dr. Briff stopped the operation. After entering the machine for 4 hours, Meng opened the door again and the test ended. "Are you Mr. Alien?" Dr. Briff asked strangely as he stared at Lemon. "How could it be? Humans. Homo sapiens." Meng was awkwardly stared at, but in fact, Buma's light gun was already in an excited state. Meng was afraid. It's indeed human." Buma withdrew the light gun. Dr. Briff began to explain the test results. The strength is 400 kilograms, the maximum strength is 1.2 tons, and the explosive power is 4.8 tons. Only a portion of beasts have such strength. The speed is 40 meters per second. The stress response speed is 0.03 seconds. Why is your neural structure no different from ordinary people? I'm really puzzled. The strength can't be measured. Dr. Briff stared at Meng again for a while. That gaze is like looking at aliens again. Cell strength, very strong, on Earth. No known weapon can cause you any harm. But strangely enough, you can still be injected with a regular needle and take a blood sample. Your cells seem to judge on their own. It's really incomprehensible. After a pause, Briff shook his head. I'm not a professional biology PhD, so I can't continue to delve deeper into your cell testing. However, one thing is for sure, your cells can be immune to 4 times the normal human dose of toxins. And your immune system makes you almost never sick. There's also. Anyway, I'm strong. Meng interrupted as he knew Dr. Brief was about to start talking about a bunch of jargon. Yes. I am very strong and my defense is almost invincible. Right. Yes. So, there's another question, what is my age? Meng once guessed about a second time traveling after waking up, but according to the records of the Cat Fairy, Meng slept for 737 years. So, the test results can to some extent explain Meng's speculation. This is strange. The instrument gave 2 results, 20 years old and 737 years old. These 2 ages exist at the same time. It is contradictory but actually exists. Dr. Briff was also very confused about this conclusion, but he still explained it very rigorously. You really lived for 737 years. How did you keep your appearance unchanged? Sure enough, regardless of age, women have a natural pursuit of appearance, and ancient people never deceived me. Meng forcefully crossed the topic and said, I roughly understand. As a thank you, I can take you to my house. Of course, you need to prepare excavation tools, and the tunnel needs to be re-excavated. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. The Underworld, the Yellow Spring. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. The Underworld, the Yellow Spring. Meng handed over the base to Dr. Briff for research. At the same time, the sperm and egg banks stored in the base were also handed over to Dr. Briff, hoping to use the power of the Convenience Capsule Company to continue the human race before AG. After completing the entrusted task, Meng finally felt relaxed. Meng decided to take a stroll around this new Earth, which was a journey that could be taken at any time. On August 3, 738 AD, Meng arrived at a peculiar place. At first glance, it looks a bit like the illusion forest where Sun Wukong and Kalin practice in Dragon Ball Super. The same eerie and terrifying. However, Meng did not encounter any illusions. Is it none, or is Meng fearless? Meng doesn't know. When Meng realized there was no way behind him, he knew that trouble was coming. Indeed, there is a road ahead, but there is no way back. Meng looked at the dark ground behind him and shook his head as he approached the countless strange trees waving their teeth and claws in front of him. Turning around, there was a narrow path with strange trees like guards, neatly arranged on either side of the path. The whole forest, it seems, the only light is this narrow path. I don't know what came to my mind. Li Meng began to take big strides forward. Oh my! Li Meng suddenly heard a surprised shout as he saw a river from afar. Ha ha ha, people! People! Walking closer, the voice became clearer, hoarse and sharp mixed together. How many years has it been? Ha ha ha, how many years has it been, ah? Ha 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 ha, humans oh, still alive. A lewd, sinister, twisted face appeared in front of Li Meng. That is a boat, talking to boatmen wearing tattered black cloaks. Crunch. Anger and fear, two almost completely opposite emotions, suddenly filled Li Meng's heart. If it weren't for the Black River blocking it, Li Meng felt that he wouldn't just be clenching his fists, but rather throwing them out without even thinking about it. He, don't be angry. The ferryman pulled up his cloak, letting the shadow of his relatively intact hood cover his strange face. It seems that he also knows that his face is too mocking. Who are you? Li Meng took a deep breath before speaking out. It seems to have calmed down a bit. He, there's no need to be angry, panicked, or scared. The hidden face of the ferryman's voice surprisingly calmed people's hearts. Li Meng felt like he had calmed down. What the ferryman said is completely correct. Anger and fear all left him. He actually lifted his leg and walked onto the ship. He, since you have come here, it means that your lifespan has been exhausted. Embark on this dark ship, cross the Forgotten River. Ahead is the Yellow Spring, and if you go down, you will find rest. Stop. Li Meng suddenly felt a tingling sensation on his scalp and shouted with a trembling sensation all over his body. Ha! Whoa! Li Meng broke out in a cold sweat and kept panting. Isn't ferryman or something from Western mythology? Isn't forgetting the river and the underworld unique to Eastern mythology? For a moment, Li Meng's mind was almost at a standstill. But for death, for the unknown underworld, Li Meng began to fear, inexplicably. What's going on? Why? Why am I so scared? I'm not. Why? He, the living have entered the underworld, and they are afraid of death. It's that simple. Seeing that you are the only one who has come for hundreds of millions of years, I waived your shipping fee. He. The ferryman explained and took Li Meng to the other side, then left with a strange smile. Underworld. There are no trees, not a single strange tree. There is only one small path, not a long one, and Li Meng can see the endpoint from a distance. The cliff. A bottomless cliff. Li Meng suddenly froze and ran forward a few steps. Touch. The road surface sank on the ground. That's a punch mark. Damn it. Where is it? I can't see it. Li Meng ran a few steps again and dodged a punch. Not visible to the eyes. Fortunately, there was only Li Meng in the underworld at this moment, and he could hear his own breathing quietly. Although the fist was invisible, there was still a slight wind when attacking. Li Meng, with his keen senses, repeatedly avoided in this quiet environment. Similarly, gradually approaching the cliff. Touch. 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 Li Meng, evading time and time again. The first avoidance is unknown, it is luck. The second avoidance is exploration and necessary. The third time, the fourth time, was just accumulating anger. I don't know how many times I've dodged. Li Meng was no longer paying attention, just seeing that the river water in the Forgotten River had turned into a waterline that would disappear from his sight at any moment. Hmph. This kind of fist. Li Meng suddenly ran up and punched out. It turned out that the invisible fist was no longer from top to bottom, but was trying to knock Li Meng away along the path. Bang! Li Meng bounced back to his original position. Ahead, a shadow appeared, gradually transforming from emptiness to reality and becoming smaller. A pitch-black person. Appearing in front of Li Meng, without a face. He, on his pitch-black head, he opened a hole and made a loud voice. Touch. There was no time to react, Meng was instantly knocked away. No. Meng only had time to shout out and was engulfed by the dark abyss. In a daze, Meng heard a voice and kept repeating, in the yellow spring tunnel, the good will fall into heaven halfway, and the evil will end up in hell. I don't know how long it has been. Meng woke up again. What caught the eye were patches of yellow clouds, boundless and boundless. And Meng is rapidly falling. Meng shouted without paying any attention. The spot where he fell was directly below his body, an inconspicuous ball. Land. Suck head up. Haha. I can't see. Meng turned around and simply became an ostrich. A bump. Meng fell to the ground. Meng's falling speed is not slow. If he were on Earth, either Meng would fall into a meat cake or the ground would be smashed into a deep pit. But the ground seems harder than rocks. Meng's impact on the ground only caused a slight dent. He stuck to the ground. A wave of spinning and spinning. A concussion in the brain for a long time, Meng finally regained consciousness through his strong physical fitness. Why is it so heavy? Just as he regained consciousness, Meng tried to move. However, after some effort, Meng only moved his arms slightly. His legs couldn't be lifted, his hands couldn't be lifted, and his head couldn't move at all. What's going on? Where is this? The body seems to be 10 times heavier. Meng suddenly froze. Wait. The body is 10 times heavier. Can you say? Oh. A gorilla face suddenly appeared in front of Meng. Meng exerted all his strength and tilted his head slightly, finally seeing the full face of the gorilla. It was really a black monkey. Meng was sucked onto the ground again. End of this chapter.